Good afternoon, this is Sean Golding with Golding & Golding, here to discuss some of the basics of international tax and penalty enforcement, Internal Revenue Code Section 650C8, and what kind of additional time it provides the IRS to come after you, unfortunately. Statute of Limitations, right? Statute of Limitations is normally 3 years. You file a form. The IRS normally has 3 years to try to enforce it. Some situations can increase to 6 years. One common one is if you have more than $5,000 of gross income from a foreign asset, such as like a FATCA type of asset, then the statute's automatically extended to 6 years. And matters such as fraud is unlimited. Civil tax fraud has an unlimited statute of limitations. There are various different international information reporter forms that a taxpayer may have to file. The common one most people know of is the FBAR. That's only one of several forms, and that's not even an IRS form, even though the IRS is tasked with enforcement. Some of the other forms are like a Form 3520 for foreign gifts and trusts, Form 3520A for foreign trusts, 5471 foreign corporations, 8938 FATCA assets, 5472 foreign owners of U.S. companies or disregarded entities. Same concept of 3 years, but what happens if you don't file? Well, unfortunately, as with not filing a tax return, the statute of limitations doesn't begin to run until you file it. Now, why is that such a big deal? Two reasons. One, you could have filed your tax return timely, but you just didn't file the International Information Reporting Form. And so the return can stay open specifically for that issue. In addition, with international forms, you have what's called assessed penalties. They don't go through deficiency procedures, which was a recent case of, they don't have to go through deficiency procedures. There's a recent case, Fairbank, opinion came out. It's a tax court case on February 23rd, I believe. It had a lot of good parts to it. One important aspect was the taxpayers didn't file a Form 3520. They filed another form, but the IRS wanted to come after them for penalties and taxes due. And defendants or petitioners made the argument that, hey, we filed our tax return timely. It's been more than 3 years, and we reported it on a separate form, and the tax court came back, not even the IRS, just the tax court said, nope, since you didn't file the form, and that was the information reporting form that was required, it still stays open, so the IRS didn't blow the statute, and the taxes and penalties interest that was issued is valid. So it is super important to try to get all of your forms filed timely. If you realize that you did not file a form properly, you want to try to go back and fix it so that the tax return doesn't remain open. And definitely, maybe you don't have the money now that you had then, but you can still get penalized as if you did. There's various ways to get into compliance, right? Written directly into the statute, there is, if you can show reasonable cause and not willful neglect, they're not supposed to issue penalties. The only issue with that is, what's reasonable to one agent may not be reasonable to another. There's other options available when you're non-willful. If you're willful, you don't qualify for reasonable cause, and your only option is the voluntary disclosure program. But if you're non-willful, there's various offshore amnesty programs. There is the streamlined filing compliance procedures, which includes streamlined domestic offshore, streamlined foreign offshore. Domestic just means it's not for foreign residents, and foreign means it's for foreign residents. That's how the IRS does it, instead of just saying domestic is for U.S. residents. The other difference is that under streamlined foreign, there's no penalty, which is great. Streamlined domestic has a 5% Title 26 miscellaneous offshore penalty. You may also qualify for delinquency procedures, delinquent FBAR, or delinquency procedures. Delinquent FBAR is still a pretty good deal. They're supposed to waive penalties. Delinquency procedures, technically referred to as Delinquent International Information Return Submission Procedures, DIRSP, was modified in November 2020, and it doesn't provide an automatic relief like it used to. We have a ton of free information available on our main website and our sub-websites. You can always reach out and schedule a reduced fee initial consultation if you think it's appropriate to your matter and something that we handle here. Again, my name is Sean Golding with Golding & Golding. Thank you for your time. Enjoy the rest of your day.